Both of these are great controllers, with this one obviously being the better of the two. However, they both have one major issue. If you're connecting these to a computer, a Steam Deck, an Android or iOS device, or anything else that isn't an Xbox, they use Bluetooth. Bluetooth is super versatile, however, it does make for lots of latency and connection issues and things like that, especially on Windows. So that brings us to the controller that I bought for today. This is 8bitdo's Ultimate C 2.4 GHz wireless controller. This is one of 8bitdo's cheaper controllers. I think I bought it on sale for $23. I don't exactly intend on replacing this controller if it comes down to it, and this one actually isn't horrible. I might tend to use this one a little more. So, like I said, the main selling point of this controller is that it has a 2.4 GHz dongle that it directly connects to instead of using Bluetooth. This means that you can plug this into your computer, into your Steam Deck, or anything that you can put a USB port onto. And this means that it'll connect first try every single time, and you'll have a lot less connection issues. So it says here that it works on Windows, Android, and Raspberry Pi. However, if you have a dock for your Steam Deck, it'll work on that as well. I'll give you guys my first impressions, my first time looking at this as well. But I figured for the price of about $23 that I paid for it personally, it definitely seemed too good for the money. So first of all, we have a USB-A to USB-C cable in this beautiful purple color, which I forgot to mention. This comes in 4 colors. There's a purple, there is a mint, there is a peach, and one more, which I'll put all of them right here. But the Ultimate C from 8bitdo just comes in lots of vibrant and fun colors. So moving on, we have our 8bitdo dongle or adapter, which also is in this wonderful purple color. 8bitdo does sell adapters that look just like this, that let you pair any controller to them, for the purposes of, for example, using an Xbox controller on your Nintendo Switch. However, this one is not Bluetooth. It is 2.4 GHz and it only works with this controller. And finally, we have the actual controller, the Ultimate C, which had these little foam rings on the control sticks. And we have a little peel tab above the face buttons. So for those of you who are wondering why I got the purple one, I'll tell you right now. It's because it was $23. I think that these normally are only like $30, but the purple was on sale, so I figured why not. So first of all, the ergonomics are very similar to an Xbox controller. You can see that they have this sort of micro texturing, which is very similar to a standard Xbox controller. An Elite Xbox controller has that same texturing, but in rubber. The triggers are analog, so for any racing games, they'll work just fine, compared to like a Joy-Con, which is just a click. These have full analog, compatibility. So analog triggers, they feel fine. The shoulder buttons are membrane, so they're kind of squishy. Thumbstick click feels fine. D-pad, once again, is membrane, so it is pretty squishy. Face buttons are also membrane. And all 4 of whatever these buttons are all membrane. So we see on the back here, we have a 500 milliamp hour battery, which is rechargeable with this USB Type-C. And now that I have my now that we just have the initial unboxing out of the way, this is definitely one of the best feeling controllers that I've bought at this price. I've definitely bought some very cheap and dubious controllers. For example, this is a 2.4 GHz wireless controller, and for the price point of this, you'll really only be able to afford something like this from Nintendo, which is a wired controller. That feels very hollow and definitely not as good as the 8bitdo. Not sponsored by 8bitdo, I bought this with my own money. I'm just saying, compared to Nintendo's licensed controllers, this one feels a lot better for the price. Completely missed this, but there was a little manual in the box. So hopefully it should be paired to the receiver out of the box, but it says to repair it to the receiver, or if you get a new receiver, you connect it to the USB port, press home to turn on the controller, hold the view button for 5 seconds, and then wait, and it will automatically pair after you follow those steps. Okay, so this star button right in the middle, I was wondering what that was earlier. According to the instruction manual, that is the turbo button. So if you want to have the controller automatically press a button for you to keep your game awake, if you're, for example, farming in a particular game that requires you to keep moving something on the controller, you just don't want to hit the button over and over, you just want to be able to hold it. That is what turbo is for. So let's get the Xbox controller out of here. So right here I have my Steam Deck. You would use this with a desktop computer, or a Raspberry Pi or a laptop or something like that. I'm going to demonstrate with the Steam Deck and a USB hub in just a second. So if you're just on the go with your Steam Deck and you want to bring a controller with you, it probably is not the best choice, unless you plan on having a hub and connecting to a TV anyway. If you're connecting to a TV, this might be fine, but for handheld mode, this probably is not the best controller. Okay, so it's plugged in right there. I don't see any blinking or anything, but let's just put it back down. And this right here should be the home button, or the power button, sorry. Okay, and it's just automatically working. Now, unfortunately, the Steam Deck is still counted as player 1, so we'll have to restart the game real quick. As far as button layout, it is the Xbox layout, where the A, B, X, Y buttons follow where the Xbox buttons are, which also is the same as the Steam Deck. Comparing it to a Switch controller, obviously the buttons are all swapped around. So the controller's on right now. We have this faint blue light, which is kind of being washed out by my studio lights up here, but there is a blue ring right here. And up top, there's this blinking red light, which I'm pretty sure it means low battery. A blinking red light does mean low battery. I didn't plug it up, I just took it out of the box and turned it on. While Elden Ring is loading back up here, if we can do a quick flex test. Yeah, you guys can obviously see the Xbox controller has a good bit of twist to it. While the 8bitdo does not, which is actually very, very surprising. So like I said, whenever you plug it in, personally, I didn't even have to pair it. I just turned it on with this button, and we're ready to go. I'm just able to play Elden Ring, for example, completely fine. And in the Steam settings, it's picked up as an 8bitdo Pro 2 wired controller. And this is not the 8bitdo Pro 2 wired controller. Clearly, it is wireless, but this is just for button mapping and stuff, so it should be the same. The D-pad is one of the kinds where if you push from both sides, the whole thing goes down. Whereas on an Xbox controller, you can't push down both sides at the same time. It has to swivel left or right. As long as it's a compatible device like a Steam Deck, a Windows computer, a Raspberry Pi, etc., all you have to do is plug in your adapter, and it'll pair over the 2.4 gigahertz connection immediately. The main appeal of a controller like this, like I mentioned earlier, 2.4 gigahertz is much more reliable than Bluetooth when it comes to latency and connection stability. On my Windows computers, if I turn on my Xbox controller, I can play, it pairs just instantaneously. The second that the controller gets turned off, the controller will not reconnect unless I turn my computer off and back on again. This is a very intermittent issue because my Acer Nitro, which is my laptop, does not have this issue, while my desktop computer does. But this eliminates the need of having Bluetooth if your personal computer does not have Bluetooth, and problems with Bluetooth connections not connecting like with my personal computer. Personally, I totally recommend this, especially for the price. I paid very close to $20 for this, and on top of the Xbox controller, this obviously has a rechargeable battery. So you're missing a lot of the elite features like trigger stops and back buttons. So I wouldn't say that this is better than an Elite controller, but if you're currently rocking with a normal Xbox controller on your PC, I would most definitely recommend upgrading to the Ultimate C. So if you guys want to pick up the Ultimate C, I'll drop the link down below. Not sponsored, I actually bought this with my own cash money, just because of how cheap it was, and I figured I'd want to share it with you guys. So that was the 8bitdo Ultimate C. All from me, I'm out. Peace.